Hi, I'm Tina Dickinson, and today I'm going to show you how to put on a Dollhouse lighting wall sconce adapter. Today I have a tulip shade wall sconce. It comes from Circuit Concepts. It's a CK4003 tulip shade wall sconce, and I love Circuit Concepts. I've been working with them for 25 years on my dollhouses, and they have great products, great customer service, and I highly recommend their products. Um, the wall sconce I'm going to be using is a round sconce adapter, a CK801, and it looks like this. There's also an insert for it that looks like this with the two brass tubes in it, and it comes in a little package that also gives you some eyelets and little nails. So let's get started. The first thing you do when you get your wall sconce out is test it. You go and you take this end and you unplug your 12-volt tape-wired dollhouse, and you unplug the end from the dollhouse and you touch it to this end and you make sure your lights are working. If they are, everything's good, well then you can get started. If not, you can still return your product. So basically, I just cut this off. We're not going to need this. Lights from the company do not come ready to be plugged in to a tape-wired dollhouse. You have to put on adapters. Now this comes like this, and we're going to have to peel that off. So the little piece of paper comes off real easy. But this little rubber part is a little bit trickier, and you have to use your fingernail or thumbnail to peel it off carefully. Now if you go slow and careful, what you're trying to do here is not tug on these wires. And if you go slow and careful, you should be okay. But be aware that one of the #1 complaints of people who work with dollhouse lighting is wires pulling out. So it's definitely a concern. So that should come off pretty easy. And on this one, you need to make sure you have it clear. So in other words, get all that rubber off. Don't leave anything on, because we're going to have to be super gluing the adapter to it. Now this is a little trick I have tried. It's not in the typical directions, but because I'm a little bit klutzy and I have pulled these wires out in the past, you can see the insides of them, and they are just a little fragile. Sometimes I take a little teeny dab of super glue, and the reason I say teeny is because you put a big blob, you're going to have to cut it off, because this has to come and fit tightly against this, and then you're going to have an insert, and there can't be a lot of stuff in the way. So I put a tiny little dab of super glue. Now you don't have to do this, but you just have to be careful at other stages. So we don't want a lot, we just want a tiny little dab to kind of keep my wires in place. Okay. Now if you do this, you may end up with a little bit of glue on the edges, and you're going to have to be careful to get that off if it's too high up. If it's past the edge of this brass piece, you're going to have to cut it down. Now it's not a bad idea to take your scissors and scrape up this edge a little. I don't think it has to be great. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to super glue this piece to that piece. So you're going to put it through the hole, this piece out, because the insert's going to go in there. Now what I sort of recommend kind of figure out where you want that in place. Then you can take your super glue, put it on something, and you can use a toothpick. So put your super glue on something. Use a toothpick to then get some on your toothpick. And then you're going to dab it around. Carefully. This is a good time to change to your magnifying glasses so you can see this rather precisely. The reason for this is if you just, like me, use the tube of super glue to apply it, you can get too much and then you can stick to it. And that's not fun. So we're going to try and center that carefully. Push it on. And if we haven't put too much super glue, then we're going to be able to make a good bond there. I like to check it and see if it is centered. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to clip off these wires a little bit more. So I'm going to leave them about 1/2 inch long. And maybe even a little bit more than that. It's a good thing to do at this time to sort of rub your wires. This can loosen up the wires from the insulation. I don't know if you can see it that well, but this happens to be 2 wires coming out of this in the insulation. So you're clipping them in 2. And if you don't have special scissors like mine, you can use a razor blade. Now this I'm going to pull apart down close to the hole. It's important to get that in the center, or you might just get wires. At this point you got your 2 wires separated like that. Now I happen to have, and it doesn't hurt to rub them up a little bit more to separate those wires. I have got a wire stripper from Circuit Concepts, and I just go down there near the bottom and I put my thumb on the other wire so that I'm not putting too much pressure pulling on those wires, but I also take and put some pressure on the end of these, enough that it will pull the insulation but not pull the wires out. And you can do that if you put too much. You can also take a little piece of scissors and cut around there ever so gently, and probably a thing to do with your magnifying glasses on, and you can then strip it that way. I like this method. I've kind of got it down, so I like this one. You can feel it kind of give way when it's enough pressure, and then you just pull those wires out, pull that insulation down, again I try and hold on to that wire so I don't pull on it, kind of next to that, pressure on the nose of that. And it does help if you, like I said, rub these wires, this wire, so that it gives away a little easier. Now what you're going to want to do is pull that out about 1/2 inch. And you're going to twist these tightly. you're going to take and snip off the insulation. At this point, they kind of look like this. I don't know if you can see that well, but. So the next thing I have is my insert. And what I'm going to be doing is threading these two wires through these two copper tubes, which are very small, and this can be very tricky. I tried using a needle nose plier to hold either one of these. I had better luck just using my hands. So here I am. I'm going to try and thread them through. They have to have kind of the perfect distance. If one of them starts to bend, you kind of have to start over, and you kind of have to wiggle it down because you have to have them both in at the same time. Now this one's working out pretty good. The wires come through the top, and often what I do, if I have extra wires through the top, is I fold it over so this thing doesn't come out. I'll snip those off later. Now all you need to do is decide which way you want these prongs. Now if they go this way, then your light's going to be straight up. You can put them at a tilt, or if you put them, you may want it like this. Now I usually do mine this way. That's the way I like mine, but you could, like I said, turn them the other way and they would be at a side or back like that. Now sometimes you can get these in with your hands, but I have better luck with these. I take and use my needle nose pliers to pop that insert into place. Now the only thing you have left to do is go test it and make it works. In your little package that came with this, you're going to see they sent you some eyelets and nails. The eyelets are the things that that go into your dollhouse that you're then going to plug this into. I have another video on something similar like that, and so if you want to look at that, feel free. But this is again the dollhouse sliding wall sconces. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. And like I said, I highly recommend Circuit Concepts. They're just fantastic to work with, helping you fix your lights, customer service of any sort. And you can find them at CIR-KIT Concepts, CONCEPTS.com on the internet. Again, thanks for watching, and feel free to leave comments or any questions. I'll try to answer them. Thank you.